Well, I know that there was a lot of music that came out this past weekend, and those reviews are coming. Don't worry, I'm just digesting some of the new albums that I hadn't listened to yet, so bear with me. Those are coming out. What I wanted to do in the meantime is showcase an album that I have been really addicted to these past couple of weeks, and I finally have enough to talk about. So let's dive into it.
Call me Mr. April, I've been looking forward to May.
Don't Quote Me on That by Wrongbird. So, Wrongbird is an Austin, Texas band being helmed, I think, by Eric Baker. He's being joined by three other chaps, with guitarist, producer Michael Blake, and bassist Dylan Hill, and drummer Tim Smith. So the four blokes are coming together to create some really fun. Now, they have kind of coined the term wrong rock, and I always find it very interesting when a band tries to label their own music. I always feel like that's something that either their audience or critics or the general public does. It's like you put out music and then it's like, okay, well, this sounds like that and this sounds like that. I would kind of call this like fun rock rather than wrong rock, because it's in the same kind of vein that, say, a lot of the more optimistic, fun, proggy rock bands of like Bear Ghost, Deer Hunter, Reign of Kindo, even Bent Knee, or, you know, some of those types of bands. They infuse a little bit more jazz, a little bit more funk, a little bit more fun. That's kind of what you're getting here. It's a lot of fun. It's quite energetic, and I always just find myself having a blast with it. You know, I'm always smiling whenever I'm listening to this kind of music and into this album itself. So, as I've mentioned, this is their 8th studio album, but the first one that I've listened to, so I would recommend going back and listening to some of their past albums as well. But yeah, this one really stood out for me, and it gets me right off the get-go with Sun and Moon, I Love You Too, where it starts off smooth. You know, it starts off very fun, but then it slowly opens itself up. It slowly develops. We've got a little bit of an introduction to what we're going to get with this band. It's kind of like bait and switch. It starts off very somber, but also very hauntingly. You know, there's a lot of minor keys, there's a lot of dirge found within it, but it's never like metal. It's never oomph. You know, it's very quiet in its approach. And then when we get to about the halfway mark, it switches and we're into the major chords and we're into the little bit more approachable stuff. You know, it's a lot more inviting in. It's a little bit of that kind of bait and switch. You know, you're knocking on the doom and gloom castle wall, only to find out that there's a very lively party going on the inside. And Western Hero continues this with being very lively, very happy. I'm getting flavors of like the 60s, 70s happy rock that we get from bands like the Beatles or the Beach Boys or the Electric Light Orchestra, but mainly within the Beatles. You know, the Paul McCartney, John Lennon kind of duo writing styles on there. It breathes this really intricate spice to it, and especially within the piano works, I'm like, oh, that's a Paul McCartney piano, like if I've ever heard one on the ivories there. And this trend kind of continues with How High, and they're showcasing that even though they can master a very punchy, very driven track like Western Hero, they're also able to handle a somber, slower track as well. I do feel as if that does overstay its welcome, especially on some of the later tracks like Mr. April, Jennifer Lady, and Glittering Voices, where I was just hoping for a little bit more stay power. You know, I feel as if they wander a little bit. They don't add a whole lot of new oomph to the music. I was just hoping for just a little bit more oomph, you know. So these tracks are unfortunately the ones that I listen to the least, but once I get to some of the more fun tracks like Playing God for Fun, this is where we got that funk re-emerging into the playing styles. Like, I love how smooth this track is, especially when we got that electric piano being played on there. I can just feel the 70s within this track. But these boys are always kind of quirky and fun first, and that is found within Questioning Man, and I love just how fun, how inviting, you know, this is where that swing aspect is coming back in, and I just feel like it is so inviting, so fun, and I can't help, once again, have a massive smile on my face for this. The final two tracks of Small Fry and Goliath really nail this album home. You know, like, I love these final two tracks. Small Fry is a great little bop. It's blending both the fun and energetic side of the band with the somber and smooth side, and it does it very well. I love the little play out that we have on the end within the piano works, and it's just so smooth, you know? And Goliath is what an emotional outpour. It's the longest track at 5.5 minutes, and within that time, it's able to cover a little bit more of the landscape that I think these boys are really playing within. Just that play out, man, that final play out, that final crescendo. This is how more bands should be ending their music. You know, a triumphant hurrah, a big, massive statement, ending on the high note to make me want to go right back to the very beginning and hit play so I can get right back into Sun and Moon, I Love You Too. And that's essentially what I keep doing. You know, this album has been on repeat quite regularly because of the highs, and I can overlook the lows. So yeah, in the end, this album is a solid effort from Wrongbird from start to finish. Outside of some of the more bumpy moments within Mr. April, Jennifer Lady, Glittering Voices, I kind of wish that they had polished these tracks a little bit more, made them a little bit more engaging, maybe even made them a little bit more energetic, because I do feel as if this album has a little bit of a balancing issue in terms of balancing the more energetic tracks with the more somber tracks. And I almost want to err on the side of more energetic tracks than more somber tracks. That's my only real criticism, and it's more of a nitpick than anything else. From start to finish, I still think this is a fantastic record, and my final rating for this album would be Don't Quote Me on That by Wrongbird is one that I would absolutely pick up in physical format. I don't know if we'll ever get it on physical format. Currently, the only way to listen to this record is either buying the digital copy or streaming it on streaming services, but I hope that this album gets enough notoriety and gets enough traction that they're able to put out a physical copy. I would even buy it on CD. So yeah, this one is one that I would recommend to anybody that likes fun music. You know, it's a little shallow. You know, I tend to cover some pretty deep progressive rock and pretty heavy metal. That's not what you're getting here. This album is about as deep as a puddle, but sometimes you just want that fun. You know, sometimes you just want that groove, you want that funk, and this is what that album gives to me, and I love it so very much. So that's what I've got on Don't Quote Me on That from Wrongbird. What did you guys think about this album? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, please let me know by commenting down below. And that's where I'm going to leave you today. So thank you all so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.